The communications of MPs cannot be protected so long as spying agencies engage in mass surveillance. That's according to the government's legal representative, who is defending the actions of GCHQ, MI5 and MI6 to the Investigatory Powers Tribunal in a case brought by a cross-party group of politicians. RT's Harry Fear has more. So, Harry, what was heard on this second day of this inquiry?
Well, the Wilson Doctrine sounds like the name of a good thriller movie, doesn't it? But it's in fact the name of a political convention that says that MPs are not supposed to be subject to the government's and intelligence agencies' surveillance. And it was introduced by PM Harold Wilson back in the late 60s, but today it faces challenge. And at this latest Investigatory Powers Tribunal hearing, the government's legal team has claimed that in an age of bulk communications interception, the Wilson Doctrine, quote, simply cannot work sensibly. Further, the government told the tribunal today the doctrine isn't law and that MPs' communications have no special legal protection. Well, this has been brought by the Green Party's MP Caroline Lucas, as well as their Baroness Jenny Jones, as well as London mayoral candidate George Galloway, who've brought this latest case challenging those so-called Reaper surveillance laws, specifically in the case of MPs' supposedly privileged private communications, especially, of course, with their constituents.
And in comparison to Westminster, the rules have been different for Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland, haven't they?
Well, Nicola Sturgeon has been leading the fury of devolved parliamentarians and assembly members today because it's become clear that the intelligence agencies have, since this case was brought to the IPT, changed their internal rules to set out how they deal with the Wilson Doctrine. They changed them when the case was brought to basically say that the doctrine will only apply to parliamentarians at the Westminster Parliament and not to the devolved entities at Holywood, as well as Stormont and the Senate. And Nicola Sturgeon's today written to Cameron complaining about this apparent second-rate right to privacy of members of the Scottish Parliament. She has said, quote, the confidentiality of communications between parliamentarians and their constituents is of the utmost importance. And similarly today, Labour's shadow Scottish secretaries now filed questions in the Commons demanding that Prime Minister Cameron clarify whether or not devolved parliamentarians had been snooped on, or at least had their supposedly protected communications indeed intercepted by GCHQ.
Harry, thanks very much indeed for that. That's RT UK's Harry.